What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we're walking through the first 15 rounds, talking about who I think the best pick is in every round. For ADP, we're going to be using a composite of Underdog, ESPN, Yahoo, Sleeper, CBS, FFPC. I think that's a pretty good mixture of paid and non-paid drafts, mostly redraft formats. We are going to skip round one because ADPs are super accurate. When I compare that composite ADP to my rankings, there's not a single player that I have ranked more than one spot above ADP. Go with your gut in round one. If you've got a really strong feeling about a player, draft them, but mostly just follow ADP because ADPs in round one are accurate. So we're really going to begin today in round two. I think there's a very strong argument to be made for both Devon Achane and Brian Thomas Jr. In a normal year, both of them would be round one picks, but they find themselves in round two because you can't rank 14 players inside your top 12. That's why we like a late first round pick this season. But I'm going to give the slight win to Bucky Irving. I have Bucky ranked 19th on average. He goes 21st. I think he deserves this honor for two reasons. One, he is a really good value for a year two running back with a year one production he had in the situation that he's in. Like, if you just isolate all of that, he's just a really good pick in fantasy. But number two, he makes a lot of sense from like a strategy perspective, given how a lot of teams are going to start off early and mid first round picks this season. So number one, we really have to just understand like how good of rookie season he had. He only played over 50% of the snaps 6 times last season. He did not hit 15 carries in a game until week 13. Yet despite this, he gained over 1,500 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's more yardage than Jahmyr Gibbs, than Bijan Robinson had in their rookie seasons. And then they became top 6 picks the following year, while Bucky is stuck as a late second rounder. Given every single report in camp, he looks fantastic. He's clearly their lead running back. The Bucs may have lost Liam Cohen, and you're going to hear Liam Cohen a decent amount in this video because I like a lot of Jaguars players this season because of that. But they play in a division with a lot of bad defenses. They still have the 8th highest implied total in the season. They have the 2nd highest projected points per game total in the fantasy playoffs. They're going to be in 3 potential shootouts in those weeks. They face the Falcons, the Panthers, the Dolphins. Those are 3 games where we are not scared at all of those defenses. We are pretty sure the Bucs are going to score a lot of points. We're pretty sure Bucky's going to have a very, very strong projection in those weeks. And you like when that's the case, right? Maybe you can think it's too early to think about the fantasy playoffs, but just knowing that he's probably going to go off at that time is really comforting when you're drafting him. A player like Bucky Irving should normally cost you a mid-first round pick. I think the biggest reason he doesn't go that early is just because he wasn't highly drafted. If he was like a second round pick in the NFL draft, I can promise you he'd be a first round pick in fantasy this season, but people see that he wasn't drafted super high and they're like, oh, maybe not going to do it again. We know. Don't anchor to what he was drafted at in the NFL draft. We know that he's a great running back. We know he's their best running back. We know he's going to be put in position to succeed this season. It's just like it's set up for him to be absolutely awesome. And then from the strategy perspective, if you start off with like Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, that's going to be 3 popular players that people are going to be drafting in the top 5 to 6 picks this season. Some people will reach for Puka, some will reach for like Amon-Ra, Nico at times, but I'm pretty sure those 3 are going to be the top 3 wide receivers in a lot of leagues. I'm not super pumped about the idea of leaving the first 2 rounds without a running back, so I wouldn't really want to go with like, let's say, Lamb and Bowers, because then as you work your way into round 3, if you don't get a good running back value, like maybe people take Chase Brown, maybe people take Jacobs, and maybe people take Hampton that you were kind of hoping to get at that turn there, you might be in a really bad situation. So I think it just makes a lot of sense for teams to have a player with as much upside as he has, as good a rookie season as he had, but then also from a strategy perspective, getting that running back at the end of the second round. Again, I think he's a great pick this season. In round 3, I think the best pick is Breece Hall, comes off the board at 36 overall, so right at that 3-4 turn. I have him 29th overall, and I have seen him fall into the 4th round a lot this season. I do have him over half a round ahead of ADP. People are going to be shocked with how often the Jets run the ball this season. Everyone's like, yeah, they're going to be run heavy. No, they're going to be really run heavy this season. And while they're going to use Braylon Allen, Breece is still their best running back by a mile. He's the one they're also going to use in the receiving game. People don't consider that like relevant this season, right? Because you're like, okay, well, they have Justin Fields, who's a mobile quarterback, and they run a ton. So aren't there not going to be any dump offs? No, I mean, Justin Fields, even though he's a mobile quarterback, he has one of the highest dump off rates to running backs in the NFL. And we know that hypermobile quarterbacks are actually good for rushing volume as well. So we know that not only is Breece Hall set up for really strong rushing volume, right? If they can run it a ton, and he's their lead back, that's a ton of carries. We know he's going to see increased efficiency running next to Justin Fields because that opens up running lanes. Again, all the math indicates it is a value. It increases efficiency when you have a mobile quarterback. And he's going to see more dump offs than people realize because, again, Fields checks down at one of the highest rates in the league. It just feels crazy like how quickly people are willing to jump ship on Breece Hall after like one okay, I'm not even going to say bad, like one just okay season. 1,359 yards and 8 touchdowns is not a bad season. You were taking him 4th overall last season. He gets hurt. He's playing hurt all season, still has over 1,350 yards and 8 touchdowns. He's still 24 years old. He's in a great spot this season for volume, and he's banished to the round 3-4 turn. Like, again, I don't understand it. I think he's one of the better picks, and it's another reason why we love late first-round picks this season. Honestly, if you wanted to go wide receiver, and risk it, and because you know you could maybe get Breece Hall at the end of 3, and maybe Hampton will go over again the next pick in round 4, that'd be an unbelievable start. But even teams that start off with like a wide receiver and a running back, grabbing that second running back in Breece Hall at the end of 3, I think is a great start to your draft. But again, the dream this season, if you could start off like, I don't even know, Puka and Brian Thomas Jr. or like Nico and Brian Thomas Jr., something like that. Also get Breece Hall. And then in round 4, you get Amari Hampton. I feel like you've already made the playoffs. Like through 4 rounds, right now he's the best 4th round pick, going the mid 4th round by ADP. I have him ranked 23rd. I am perfectly willing to draft Amari Hampton at the round 2-3 turn. I have him 19 picks ahead of ADP. I'm sure the ADP is going to rise. I don't know where it's going to go, right? And I'm thinking, again, this season, week 1 sneaks up on us. It's a really early week 1. I don't think redraft ADPs are going to really have time to rise up to what players should be at. I think people are going to panic and just kind of like not know what to do this season because, again, week 1 is so early. But man, I mean, Hampton was built to play running back on the Chargers. Like, he is a physical freak. He will run through you. He will run past you. Unbelievable athlete. And I'm really excited to just see the Chargers offense this season. Justin Herbert is fully healthy this year after being injured all of last season. You've got this influx of wide receiver talent that's going to really stabilize the wide receiver room. Because remember last season, I mean, Quentin Johnston, let's be honest, like he's a bust as a first-round pick. He was developing, he was getting better, but like he is not that good. And you had Ladd, who had a great season, but obviously, you know, rookies kind of tend to break out in the second half of the year, and that's what happened with him. So for a chunk of last season, it's like, it wasn't like Justin Herbert had, you know, the greatest cast of receivers to throw to, and he was hurt all season. So if he's healthy and you increase the pass catchers, like this team has a lot of upside. And when you consider that, like, Hampton's easily the best running back, even if we knew Najee had 2 eyes and like he's actually going out there and is Najee Harris that we've known. Najee Harris is not that good of a running back. He's a great handcuff. He's a great backup. He's a great number 2. He's someone that, like, if you drafted Hampton, you want to go out and draft Najee, sure, absolutely go for it for that certainty. But he's not challenging Amari Hampton. Amari Hampton is significantly better than J.K. Dobbins, I'll tell you that much. And even Dobbins had over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns in effectively 12 and a half games last season. Again, in a year that Herbert was hurt, the wide receiver room was worse. Like, I really think the Chargers can score 25, 26, 27 points per game this season. And that is awesome news for Hampton, because if they're scoring a lot, he's going to have a ton of touchdowns. They're going to be winning in the second half. He's going to just rack up rushing yards. People have brought up the receiving yards, being like, well, I don't like him that much because of the receiving ceiling they've seen. That this coaching staff historically has not targeted the running back position a lot. I agree. I don't think he's going to have 60 receptions. But again, J.K. Dobbins going into last year had 35 career receptions. And even he, in this exact same system, had 32 receptions in 12 and a half games. So it's not like Hampton's going to have 0 receptions. Please do not fade him this season. Because of that, he's a stud. He's probably, if you could lock him in the 4th round, I might call that the best pick in the draft. Again, I'd be willing to take him at the 2-3 turn if you are in a super competitive league and you know he's going to go earlier. Round 5. I think the best pick is Ted McMillan. Another rookie where the landing spot is perfect. There's a lot of teams where, maybe I wouldn't have been in love with the landing spot. I mean, he's still a great player. And for a team to take him, in like the early first round, I guess mid first round, for a team to take a wide receiver that early, they got a spot for him, right? You're not going to have him land in a team where they're like, I don't know where I'm going to play him. Like, of course, anyone drafting that early has a role for him. He comes off the board 58th overall. That's the 10th pick in round 5. I have him 47th overall. That's the late 4th round. You'll want the X wide receiver in a Dave Canales offense. It's an extremely important position. It comes with a lot of upside in fantasy. It's why we liked Deontay Johnson last season. Unfortunately, Deontay kind of fell off the deep end for us, but Tet is everything you look for in a pure X wide receiver. Do I wish he was a little bit better at separating? Sure. But I feel like I've brought that up at times this offseason. Maybe people think like he's a bad route runner. He's not that good of a wide receiver. Again, basically, in me saying that, it's like he's not like Jamar Chase as a prospect. He's not Malik Neighbors as a prospect. But that's okay because they're first-round picks. They're unbelievably talented players. He's not that, but he's still really good. He's still great versus press. He can win versus man and zone, and he can win big time in the middle of the field. And I think that's important. Like, he's going to be just a big-bodied receiver that they're going to be able to utilize in the intermediate portion of the field for someone that can consistently be open for Bryce Young. If we look at last season, it's like, who was he throwing to? It's like a million-year-old Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson, David Moore. They leave behind 120 targets. Like, there's opportunity here, and there's no one in his way. Like, I like Coker. I think Coker's a good player, but Jalen Coker is not a number 1 wide receiver. At his very advanced age, Adam Thielen's not a number 1 wide receiver. Like, Leggett, I think is good, but is kind of more of a schemed usage player. Ted McMillan walks in week 1, snap 1, is their top wide receiver. There is opportunity here. And I think there's a little bit of hidden upside in the fact that, like, the market is pretty convinced that Bryce Young is just bad. So when you look at this ADP for Tet, this is under the assumption that Bryce Young is a bad quarterback. And that could definitely be the case. But from week 8 on last season, Bryce Young's completion percentage, and 8 on is basically when he returned from like getting benched, and then they had Andy Dalton, and then Andy Dalton got hurt, and so they bring in Bryce Young. Week 8 on, second half of the year, completion percentage went up, yards per pass attempt went up, 20 touchdowns. He ran for 5, threw for 15. He had 20 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. I don't know. He was a lot better in the second half. He's still a very young quarterback. The talent has always been there, right? Like, he was a great prospect coming out of college. I don't think we should completely write him off. And again, the ADP here is assuming that he's not that good of a quarterback. But what if Bryce Young ends up being decent? Now all of a sudden you're taking him in the late 5th round, a clear number 1 wide receiver, an extraordinarily talented wide receiver, someone's going to win in the red zone. I don't know. I think there's a lot of upside in this pick, and it's one where, rookies break out in the second half of the year. Well, that's when the fantasy playoffs are. Like, the odds are that Ted McMillan is going to be peaking when it matters the most in fantasy, and that, of course, is what you want. Round 6, best pick is RJ Harvey, another rookie for us. You guys know I love my rookies, but it's a great year. Like, the landing spot for some of these rookies is awesome. I was in love with Martin Hampton before he got drafted, and he just went to the dream spot for a Martin Hampton. I was in love with RJ Harvey before he was drafted, and then he went in the dream spot for RJ Harvey. Comes off the board, 4th pick in round 6. I have him ranked as a 4th pick in round 5, so 1 round of value. Again, I've been over him a million times this summer, so we can keep this like kind of short and sweet. But in fantasy and in running back specifically, you are looking for athletic running backs that hit on all 3 areas: receptions, touchdowns, and rushing volume. If you can actually contribute in all 3 areas at a consistent rate and have a ceiling in all 3, then you're not going to be game script dependent, and you're going to have an elite weekly ceiling every week, and you're going to be someone who will want to be starting all the time. We know that the receptions will be there. Sean Payton backfields are always top 4 running back targets, besides just last season when the running backs were all terrible and they were 8th. It's going to be top 10. It's likely going to be top 5 in running back targets this season. We know the touchdowns will be there because the Broncos were 10th in points per game last year, and they got better this season. So they're going to score a ton of points. You know this backfield's going to score touchdowns. And we know the rushing volume is going to be there because he is the most talented running back on this roster. And this team just lost their number one from last season, and they have the best defense in the NFL. So when this great offense gets up early, they're going to lean on the running backs in the second half. They're going to opt to be run heavy later in games. Like, Harvey is just an unbelievable pick this season. My model comps him to Maurice Jones-Drew. I really think he's going to be sensational in his career, and he's one of my biggest flag plants this season. Draft as much Harvey as you can at a 6th round ADP. Round 7. Best pick is Jordan Addison, goes on average at the 7th pick of round 7. I have him 11 picks earlier as the 8th pick in round 6. Now, have to admit, I don't know. There is unknown surrounding his suspension, but I'd be shocked if it was more than a few games. Like, I'm expecting 2 to 3. If it's 4, it wouldn't be that crazy, but like 5 would shock me, 6 would shock me. It's probably going to be 3 games. He's going to be suspended about 3 games. At a 7th round ADP, you can 100% withstand that. And to be honest, there's a chance it doesn't impact you at all. Like, even if, you started off like with Brock Bowers and you drafted Jane Daniels. Like, you started off tight end early and quarterback early. You still probably have 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers on your roster by this point in the draft. So the worst case scenario is that you have to throw your 8th round pick or your 9th round pick, whoever's a better matchup, into the flex spot for a couple weeks to start the season. Truly not that big of a deal. The more likely outcome is that you didn't draft a tight end or a quarterback early. You picked one of the 2 or neither, but let's say you picked one of the 2. And in that case, Addison wasn't even a week 1 starter for you anyways. So now the 2 to 3 game suspension has no impact. You may not have been starting him at all. Then when you get him back healthy, he's going to be a player that is going to really return on this ADP. He's still a 23-year-old wide receiver. At age 21 and 22, he was 28th in points per game, 21st in points per game. You're getting him as a wide receiver 37. It's an extremely talented, young, athletic wide receiver on one of the best offenses in football who plays in a dome a ton, who's already outperformed this ADP in his first 2 seasons and is still developing as a player and getting better. And he has the contingent upside of Justin Jefferson. What if Jefferson got hurt, had a long-term injury? Now all of a sudden he's shattering this ADP as someone you're always starting at wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside every week. So he is a phenomenal pick in round 7. Round 8, best pick, Ricky Pearsall. We loved Pearsall last season, obviously. Got incredibly unlucky. He misses most of training camp with a hamstring injury, shoulder injuries, finally gets good to go, finally out there, going to start week 1, and then he gets shot in a robbery. So he obviously like is out for a significant time there. That derails his season. Still finishes strong in the final 2 weeks of the season. 8 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown. 6 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown in the final 2 weeks. I do want to make one thing clear. I'm not putting him here because of the Juwan calf injury. I honestly do not know if Juwan has a calf injury. Like, I think that maybe he had one and he felt a little something and he's like, absolutely not. I'm not going to go out there and tear my Achilles. Give me a contract before I go out there. Like, I think that's an actual possibility here. But regardless, whether or not Juwan is injured, this ADP for Pearsall is really strong. Like, they drafted him to be their next Deebo Samuel. And by all accounts, he's been crushing camp. He's been a go-to option for Brock Purdy. We know the 49ers are going to be good. No matter who they throw out there, they're going to be a good offense because it's a great coaching staff. They're going to be one of, if not the most efficient offenses in the NFL. And we know they value Pearsall very highly. They drafted him in round 1 last season. Had he not had the worst possible luck in year 1 and maybe just started breaking out a couple weeks earlier, like if his breakout starts 4 or 5 weeks earlier and he throws together a couple more really good games, I can promise you he's a 4th round pick this season. Like, if he had just started doing well down the stretch and people have been like, oh yeah, he's clearly the number 1 wide receiver, he'd be a 3rd or a 4th round pick, maybe 5th rounder at latest, and you can get him in round 8. So you're basically getting a discount because of what happened last season. I genuinely don't think people understand that, like, we're not going to see Ayuk for the first month of the season, that Deebo is not on the team anymore, and the opportunities that is going to open up, unless Juwan Jennings goes out there and is a true alpha wide receiver, or unless Kittle goes out there and breaks fantasy, Pearsall is going to have a ton of volume. And let's be honest, if you have no Deebo, no Ayuk, and potentially, I guess, no Juwan, but again, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Pearsall's what, a top 20 easily wide receiver in week 1, 2, 3 of the season? Like, while Ayuk is not out there, he's going to be someone you're probably starting, and you get him in the 8th round. That's sick value. Round 9, best pick. Emeka Egbuka, currently the 11th pick of round 9. I have him ranked 21 spots higher, has an early 8th round pick. I've been in love with Egbuka all offseason. Just feels like one of the easier takes of the offseason. Mike Evans is 32 years old. Godwin's 29, coming off a season-ending ankle injury. Still not practicing with the team. We really don't know when he's going to be out there. We don't know when he's going to be 100%, if he will be 100% this season. Egbuka, first-round wide receiver, phenomenal feel for zone. He's always going to be open in this offense. The Bucs offense is going to score a ton of points. They're going to be in plenty of shootouts because their defense is terrible. I'm not saying it's a lock that Evans falls off or a lock that Godwin has a bad year, but there are pretty big red flags with both of them. And it doesn't even matter. Like, he doesn't even have to pass either one of them to get snaps. They're going to be playing in 3 wide receiver sets basically every single play. So even if both of those two are out there all year, Egbuka's going to be on the field. And now if either one of them is less efficient, if Baker just decides, which it seems like he has, that he just loves Egbuka and wants to target him, he will. And then you have that upside of, well, what if Godwin suffers a setback or isn't the same player? Or what if Evans just kind of falls off at 32? Like, what if these things happen? All of a sudden, there is a world where Egbuka is the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy on this team. And again, I just don't think people are fully understanding that that is in his range of outcomes. Baker has nonstop been hyping this kid up. I really, again, do think there's a world where you're just like starting Egbuka at wide receiver 2 every week, and you can get him as a low-end 4 to a high-end wide receiver 5 right now in fantasy. Round 10, best pick. Josh Downs coming off the board at 10.02. I have him ranked as a late 8th round pick. Among 66 qualified wide receivers last season, Josh Downs ranked 4th in targets per route run, 13th in first downs per route run, 18th in yards per route run, 20th in fantasy points per route run. Super highly predictive metrics, and he's top 20 in all of them. Colts didn't exactly throw the ball a ton last season, and when they did, the results were not amazing. Despite this, still a 67% catch rate, brought in 72 receptions, and was 34th in fantasy points per game. But you can get him as the 49th wide receiver off the board right now. Listen, like, I get being concerned about the quarterback play. Again, it was bad, but it was bad. And he was 34th in points per game. So either Anthony Richardson takes a step forward and the production increases, or the passing production increases, or he doesn't, and Daniel Jones wins the job, and the passing volume, production, efficiency increases. Like, there's almost no way it gets worse, and he was 34th last year. I do get being concerned maybe about, like, Tyler Warren. I'm a really big fan of Tyler Warren. I think he's going to be awesome. I love Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman Jr. goes like around earlier, so he doesn't make this list, but I like this offense because I just think that people are undervaluing this team because of what happened last year. I think the passing volume is going to be a lot better than what we saw because it can't possibly be any worse. And I do think Downs is just like a really, really good target in drafts this late. The kid turns 24 next week. Year 3 is historically a big breakout year for wide receivers. He was already really strong last season. I don't know. I just think he's one of those players where it's like, worst case, returns value. Worst case, he goes out there. He's someone that you're kind of mixing into that flex spot, and you're like, not winning me anything, but he's not going to go out there and have like 3 targets every week and have 1 reception. Like, that's just not in his range of outcomes. So worst case, you mix him in around the starting lineup. You're like, don't love it, but I'm fine with it. But best case is you're like, how do I take him out of the flex spot? Because every week he's commanding 8-9 targets. He's catching 6-7 balls every single week. He's a very, very stable player with some ceiling. Beyond that, I think that's more likely to be like this, like, kind of a player that he is this season, just commanding a really heavy target share. So again, really like him this season. Round 11, best pick, Drake May. One of my favorite quarterback options this season, just because he's so cheap in drafts, but he does come with elite fantasy upside. May averaged 17.35 fantasy points per game in the 10 games that he started and finished last season. That is borderline quarterback 1 production. What makes that even more impressive is that it came as a rookie with the worst offensive line, or one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, with horrible play calling, with no ground game to help him out, with easily the worst group of skill players to throw to. I can promise you that Josh McDaniels is going to be a huge upgrade as a play caller. I can promise you, offensive line, gonna be better this season. And it should go without saying that when you add Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams, Travion Henderson, it's gonna upgrade the passing attack and the ground game as well. Kayshon Boutte is even having like a really, really good camp. He's someone that he always had the raw talent, and we were kind of hyped about him in the rookie season, being like, I don't know, late round pick in Dynasty. Like, he was so good early in his career in college, and then he has these injuries, and he never kind of comes back, and rookie season was obviously terrible, and last year it was like, can you just get going? It seems like he may have kind of like hit his stride. Not someone you need to target in fantasy, probably not someone that's going to be out there a ton, but I think the fact that like he's breaking out, the fact that they added Diggs and Williams, it's not going to be like last year where May drops back and the only possible option for him every single time is Henry and Douglas. Like when those are your only options, there's nothing you can do because they're not going to run deep downfield. They're not going to be able to each have like 100 receiving yards every week. And so there's just no upside in the passing attack. But when you just have enough wide receivers to filter through, you can have injuries and you can have it to where like one of these guys just doesn't have the breakout you're hoping for, or maybe Kyle Williams like is a little bit slower in breaking out than anticipated. And you just have enough players that are actually capable to go out there because, man, what they were throwing out there last season was just not capable. And so when you consider all of that and you look at him and you're like, he's the 17th quarterback off board. It's like, it's pretty likely he's going to post quarterback one numbers when you add in how efficient he is on the ground, how mobile he is on the ground. Again, one of my favorite quarterbacks you can possibly go after. And it's one of the reasons why, like, if you happen to miss out on top 5 picks and really just like if one of the top 5 picks doesn't become a really good value, it's okay because you can draft Drake May later on. And if you happen to miss out on Drake May, it's okay because in round 12, the best pick is Trevor Lawrence. So I think this is a really good range where it's like, try to get May in 11. If that unfortunately doesn't happen, just grab Trevor Lawrence in round 12. Historically, I've been a lot lower than consensus on Lawrence. This is actually the first year where I'm telling you to go after him. But I'm telling you, this is the year. Like, maybe people have kind of been hyping up the Jaguars for a while, and it's always been like, yeah, but probably not. This is the year the Jaguars finally break out. We all know Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud. He's a great alpha, and he's awesome as that alpha because he has that big play potential. So he really unlocks that ceiling and he just puts fear into defenders and especially safeties deep downfield because you have to respect that speed and that big play ability. But I think the two factors that kind of lead to the Trevor Lawrence breakout are Liam Cohen and Travis Hunter. I absolutely believe that Liam Cohen is a true difference maker as a play caller, and I think he's going to put Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter into position to succeed. And I really do think that he's going to scheme these two open, and that's going to be scary because what do we always talk about? We love when you have a pairing of an offensive coordinator that will scheme its best players open, and those best players are already capable of getting open on their own. I think that's the case for both Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter this season. We at the end of the year might be calling this a top 3, top 2 wide receiver duo in the NFL. I don't know that anyone is going to usurp Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but like end of the year, you might be saying this is one of the 3 best duos for wide receivers in the NFL. I know people are hesitant being like, oh, he's going to play defense a lot, right? Like Travis Hunter is not going to be out there on offense. Don't worry about that. Travis Hunter's a freak athlete. He's going to play plenty on offense. It's going to be impossible to keep this kid off the field. Maybe you look at the snaps, the box score at the end, and you're like, oh, look, the snaps aren't that amazing. It's only like 68%. Okay, they can take him off the field on run plays. They can take him off the field in any play designed to Strange, designed to Brian Thomas Jr., to De'Ami Brown. There's no reason to put him out there if he's definitely not getting a target. Hunter is going to have one of the higher targets per route run rates in the NFL, and he's absolutely going to increase the ceiling of this offense. Everyone wants to draft Brian Thomas Jr. Everyone wants to take shots on these running backs. Big chunk of the community likes Hunter, De'Ami, Strange. So why is Trevor Lawrence, the guy who's going to be orchestrating all this and benefiting from all this production, the 20th quarterback off boards? I'll tell you why. It's because there's a bunch of elite quarterbacks this season. So again, when you have this deep of a year, it is early or late. See if you can get a really good value on the top 4 to 5, maybe Burrow, but again, you just want a really good value at that. But if not, it's okay. Wait a really long time. Draft one of Dak, Herbert, May, McCarthy, or Lawrence. If you just play that strategy, You miss out on the top 5. You're going to get one of those 5. After that, I think that's the best play of the season, or 2 of them, or in Superflex, just like make sure you just target that range in general. Round 13, best pick, Ray Davis, coming off the board as a 7th pick in round 13. I have the 7th pick in round 11, so 2 rounds of value. I've seen a lot of people argue that he's not that great of a handcuff because of Ty Johnson, and that Ty Johnson will have a role if James Cook got injured or held out at this point. I don't think that's true. I mean, yes, I think it's true that Ty Johnson will have a role, but the same role, right? Like, Ty Johnson has a role right now. Like, he is going to be someone that they trust in pass protection. So when they know 100% chance they're throwing the ball and they just want the running back to pass block, they take James Cook off the field, they put Ty Johnson in there, and he pass blocks because he's a good pass blocker. That's his role. So I view James Cook as the direct backup. If you had James Cook holding out, or I don't know how I said that before, I view Ray Davis as a direct backup to James Cook. If you had a holdout, if you had an injury to James Cook, I think they just slot Ray Davis right into that position, and he has the exact same usage that James Cook would have had, and I think he would be productive. And we saw it last season. Like, they were willing to give Ray Davis 23 touches in the only game that James Cook missed, and Ty Johnson got 4 touches. He averaged 3.5 on the year. Like, he did the exact same thing as he has before. He gets like 3 to 4 touches each week because he goes in there and he pass blocks. But that is exactly what he would do if James Cook got hurt. So if you want to draft James Cook, just draft Ray Davis. And if you feel like adding some sort of upside to where if there's an injury, you have that contingent upside on the bench, I wouldn't be scared. I would draft Ray Davis. You have that upside. He would be someone you're starting every week in fantasy if there was an injury or holdout to James Cook. Round 14, best pick, Brenton Strange. Strange and Hunter Henry are kind of like the last couple tight ends that I'd be willing to wait on as my tight end 1. But by ADP, Hunter Henry goes like 20 picks earlier. So Strange gets the win for best pick in round 14. Again, Liam Cohen going to elevate this offense, but it's also Liam Cohen's offenses. They do target the tight end. Like, Liam Cohen in his 2 seasons as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, Tyler Higbee ranked 5th among all tight ends in the receptions. And then last season, Cade Otton was 13th in receptions through only 14 games. He was 9th in receptions per game last season. Again, Tyler Higbee and Cade Otton, not exactly the greatest tight ends, right? This is not Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. This is Tyler Higbee and Cade Otton. We're targeted a lot at the tight end position. Again, Cohen utilizes tight end, and my goodness, like, look at the depth chart on this team. Behind Brenton Strange, it's Johnny Munt, Hunter Long, Quentin Morris. That group has a grand total of 88 career receptions through 180 career games. Like, almost every single target on the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to Brenton Strange this season, and you can get him in round 14 as the 21st wide receiver off the board. That is a really good value. Final round we'll go over today. Round 15, best pick. I would say it's a tie. I'm going to talk about Bryce Young. If you want to throw Cam Ward in there as well, I just have Bryce Young ranked ahead of Ward, so better value here. But you could talk about either one. I think I've been warming up to the idea of Cam Ward recently. Still a rookie quarterback, so there's obviously a lot of unknowns, but those unknowns are on the high end as well. There is upside here for Cam Ward, so I've been warming up to that. Recently, he's had a really good camp. But Bryce Young wins the spot here. I think it's mostly for both of these, honestly. Like, if you're in a 14 or 16 team league, if you play in Superflex, they're really strong options for you. I would say for those of you in, especially in 8 team league, 8, 10, 12 team leagues, if you left your draft with like Bryce Young as your number 1 and only quarterback, I'd be like, I don't know, like I've listed off a lot of options for you, right? I said the top 5, I give you 5 more. You missed all of them, like I feel like you probably shouldn't, but for those of you, again, in deeper leagues, in Superflex, I think it's a good pick. Like, I said all these positive things about Tet McMillan. He came on really strong, Bryce Young, at the end of last season. Like, week 8 on, 18.6 fantasy points per game. That's really good. That is quarterback 1 numbers. 18.6 fantasy points per game from week 8 on last season for Bryce Young without Tet McMillan, like without that true number 1 wide receiver. Coker's apparently having a really good camp. Maybe Leggett can improve this season if he's not a number 1. I don't think Leggett's a number 1 wide receiver. I thought he was overdrafted last year, but Maybe if he slides into number 2, he can get more schemed usage, kind of operate as that secondary piece in the passing game. Maybe he can benefit there. Jatavian Sanders apparently taking a big step forward. So there's a lot of hype surrounding this Panthers team. And even if all of it doesn't hit, listen, their defense is terrible. They play in a division with bad defenses. And to open the season, you're going to know. So that's the silver lining here, is that like they play at the Jaguars, at the Cardinals, home versus the Falcons. After those 3 weeks, or during those 3 weeks, we are going to know a lot about Bryce Young. If he goes out there and averages like 14 fantasy points per game, has like 4 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, he's cooked. We know he's done. You can cut him. We're not going to be playing him this season. So we're going to know early in the year, and it's not going to be like, oh, he's playing in these like terrible weather games, or he's playing against horrible defenses, or like they weren't pushed on offense. Like, they're going to be pushed. The Jaguars, Cardinals, and Falcons have great offenses, and they don't have that good of defenses. So he is going to have opportunity early in the year, and you'll be able to figure that out early on. So again, don't want him as my quarterback 1 in a 10-team league, but this late, if you're looking for quarterback, especially in Superflex, again, Superflex, he'd be earlier, but the point would be, given the actual value of where he is going in drafts, I think he's a strong pick, but you probably don't have to be drafting him in a 10-team league. So those are the best picks in every round. If you have a draft coming up and you want to use my rankings, you can do that on my website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. And if you have access to the rankings, then download my app as well. You can draft and view player notes directly on your phone. You can cross players off, add them to your team as you're drafting. And you'll have access to the trade calculator, have access to the draft strategy helper as well, other premium content too. So make sure you download the app if you have access. And even if you don't have access to the site, the app is free. You can go on there, you can pick between players, and you can mock draft on the app 100% free. All right, that'll do it for this one. Please leave a like if you made it this far. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I'll catch you on the Friday video where we'll go over the worst pick in every round.